When we decide to trust God, that doesn't mean that we don't still hurt or that we don't still go through things, but it does mean that way down deep inside, there's a knowing, just a quiet little knowing it's going to be okay.
For decades, Joyce Meyer has inspired millions with messages of faith, forgiveness, and healing. But behind the sermons and smiling appearances, few imagined there were wounds she struggled to forget. Now, at 83, a shocking revelation has reignited questions many thought would remain buried forever. In a rare and deeply personal confession, Joyce finally spoke about the one person she harbored stronger feelings toward than anyone else. Was it betrayal, pain, or something far more complicated? And why did she wait so long to reveal it? From pain to global ministry. Joyce Meyer is a well-known American Christian teacher, author, and speaker who has become one of the most influential voices in modern evangelical Christianity. She was born as Pauline Joyce Hutchison on June 4, 1943, in St. Louis, Missouri. Her early life was not easy. She has openly shared that she went through painful experiences in her childhood, including abuse and emotional hardship. These early struggles shaped her deeply and later became an important part of her message to others. Instead of hiding her past, she often uses it to show how healing and change are possible through faith and forgiveness. After she became a committed Christian, Joyce Meyer began serving in church ministry. Over time, she discovered a strong gift for teaching the Bible in a simple, practical, and easy-to-understand way. People were drawn to her honesty and the way she connected spiritual truths to everyday life. In 1985, she took a major step of faith by starting her own ministry, which later grew into what is now known as Joyce Meyer Ministries, based near St. Louis. Her ministry expanded rapidly through conferences, books, radio, and television programs. One of her most popular broadcasts is Enjoying Everyday Life, which reaches viewers across many countries and is translated into multiple languages. In her teachings, she focuses on topics such as emotional healing, personal growth, strong relationships, faith in God, and learning how to overcome life's challenges using biblical principles. Her direct and simple communication style has helped many people understand complex spiritual ideas more easily. Over the years, she has written over 100 books, many of which have become bestsellers around the world. These books continue to guide readers on topics like forgiveness, peace of mind, discipline, and spiritual maturity. Beyond teaching, her ministry is also involved in humanitarian work. Through various outreach programs, they provide food, medical care, disaster relief, and support for struggling families and children in different parts of the world. Joyce Meyer's life journey is often told as a powerful story of change and growth. Joyce Meyer shows how deep personal pain can be turned into a strong sense of purpose. Her story reminds people that difficult experiences do not have to end in despair, but can become the foundation for helping others and building a life of meaning. Through her teachings, books, and public talks, she encourages individuals to hold on to faith, heal from past wounds, and discover hope even in the hardest seasons of life. Her journey continues to inspire many across the world who see in her life a simple message: pain can be transformed into purpose when guided by faith and perseverance and lasting positive impact. What are Joyce Meyer's works centered on? What does her ministry represent? Let's delve into the details of Joy Meyer Ministries' mission of hope, compassion, and practical faith. Faith in action, through compassion. At its heart, Joyce Meyer Ministries is a global Christian outreach that seeks to bring hope into everyday life. Its purpose is to help people understand the Bible in simple, practical ways that can guide daily decisions. It teaches that faith is not only about words or church messages, but about actions that show love and care for others. Because of this, the ministry works in many charity efforts around the world. It helps provide food for the hungry, clothing for those in need, and support for widows, orphans, and the elderly. It also reaches out to prisoners and other vulnerable people, offering care and encouragement in difficult times. Through these efforts, it tries to show God's love in real, practical ways that touch everyday lives. Overall, the ministry encourages believers to live out their faith by serving people with kindness, compassion, and steady support wherever they can daily lives. A key part of its humanitarian work is carried out through its outreach arm known as Hand of Hope. Through this program, the ministry supports relief efforts in different parts of the world. Whether it is responding to natural disasters, helping struggling communities, or supporting long-term development projects, the focus remains on practical help, combined with compassion. The idea is that faith becomes more meaningful when it is backed up by visible kindness and service. Another important aspect of the ministry is its emphasis on responsibility and transparency. It highlights financial accountability through regular reports, oversight by independent boards, and voluntary audits. This is meant to build trust and show that resources are being used carefully and honestly for the intended mission. The teaching style of Joyce Meyer is widely described as clear, relatable, and based on real-life experience. She often shares openly from her own personal struggles, including emotional pain and healing, to help others feel understood and encouraged. Her messages are focused on helping people renew their thinking, overcome negative thoughts, and build a stronger, more peaceful inner life through biblical principles. She also places strong emphasis on emotional healing and personal growth. Many of her teachings encourage people to break free from guilt, fear, and past wounds, and instead live with confidence, forgiveness, and hope. The goal is to help believers not only understand their faith, but also apply it in their daily decisions, relationships, and challenges. Through television programs, radio broadcasts, books, conferences, and online platforms, the ministry reaches audiences across many countries. Its presence in global media allows its message of hope, practical faith, and compassion to spread widely. In this way, it seeks to inspire people everywhere to experience God's love in a personal way, and to reflect that love in how they live and treat others every day. Could Joyce Meyer possibly hate someone? Who could it be? Why would she hate such a person? Let's dive into the details of the criticism of Joyce Meyer and the prosperity gospel debate. The debate over prosperity teaching. Joyce Meyer, who has long been one of the most talked about figures in modern Christianity, has always been at the center of discussions, especially within the ongoing debate around what is often called the prosperity gospel. This teaching, which is also promoted by well-known televangelists such as Joel Osteen, emphasizes the belief that strong faith in God can lead to financial success, good health, and a better life. For many followers, this message feels uplifting and full of hope. But for critics, it raises serious concerns about how Christian faith is being understood and taught. Writers and theologians like Rick Henderson and others argue that Joyce Meyer's teachings may risk changing the original message of Christianity. They say that when faith is closely tied to money, success, or physical well-being, it can create a misunderstanding of what it truly means to believe. In their view, Christianity is not a promise of constant wealth or comfort, but a call to trust God even during suffering, loss, and hardship. Critics worry that the prosperity message may make people feel responsible for their struggles, as if lack of wealth or healing means they do not have enough faith. This belief, they argue, can lead to emotional pain, confusion, guilt, and disappointment among followers who do not experience the outcomes they were promised. Another major concern raised by opponents involves finances and accountability. Questions have been asked about how large ministries handle donations, salaries, and spending. In Joyce Meyer's case, critics have pointed to her organization's financial practices and lifestyle choices as examples of why they believe more transparency is needed in prosperity-based ministries. They argue that religious donations should be managed with clear openness so that supporters can trust how their contributions are being used. However, supporters of Joyce Meyer strongly disagree with these criticisms. They say her teachings are not about greed or material obsession, but about hope, confidence, and practical faith in everyday life. Many of her followers describe her messages as encouraging and life-changing, especially for people facing emotional struggles, poverty, or difficult life situations. To them, her sermons and books provide motivation to rise above hardship and believe that change is possible through faith and positive action. This disagreement reflects a much larger divide within modern Christianity. On one side are those who believe prosperity teaching is a valid and inspiring interpretation of Scripture, focusing on blessings and God's kindness in daily life. On the other side are traditional theologians and church leaders who believe the faith should focus more on humility, endurance, and spiritual growth rather than material success. In the end, Joyce Meyer remains a central figure in this ongoing global discussion. Her ministry continues to attract both strong admiration and strong criticism, showing how deeply people differ in their understanding of faith, money, and what it means to live a truly Christian life in today's world. Are there other critics who Joyce Meyer could hate more than many others? Are there people who don't hesitate to call her out over what they feel is wrong? On what grounds has she been criticized again? Let's dig into the details of the criticism of Joyce Meyer's teaching and theology. Criticism of Joyce Meyer's teachings. Joyce Meyer, despite being a well-known Christian teacher and author, has not stopped featuring in debates within evangelical circles. According to a report by the Christian Research Institute headed by Hank Hanegraaff, she has faced long-standing criticism from certain Christian scholars and apologists who believe that parts of her teaching are more closely aligned with the Word of Faith movement, rather than with what they consider traditional or historic Christian doctrine. The report explains that although Joyce Meyer has, over time, softened or adjusted some of her earlier statements, critics argue that she has never clearly and openly rejected many of the core ideas she once taught. Because of this, they believe that some of those teachings still influence her messages today. One of the main concerns raised is her teaching on faith and words. Critics like Hank Hanegraaff say Meyer sometimes presents faith as a kind of spiritual power that can be activated through spoken words and prayer. They argue that this can give the impression that believers can speak blessings, healing, or success into existence simply by declaring them, a view often linked with prosperity teaching. Related to this, they also question her encouragement for Christians to confess God's promises as though they are already physically present in their lives, seeing this as potentially stretching biblical interpretation. Another major point of disagreement involves her past statements about the work of Jesus Christ. Some critics point to earlier teachings where she suggested that Jesus' saving work involved not only his death on the cross, but also suffering in hell. They argue that this idea is not supported by mainstream Christian theology, which generally holds that Christ's atonement was fully completed through his crucifixion and resurrection. For them, this is a serious doctrinal concern. The report also highlights objections to language she has used that describes believers as little gods. Critics believe this wording is misleading and may confuse the clear difference, in their view, between God as the creator and human beings as his creation. In addition, the report notes that Joyce Meyer has continued associations with well-known teachers and ministries connected to the Word of Faith movement. Critics see this as further evidence that she remains influenced by its theological framework, even if she has refined her public messaging over the years. At the same time, the report does acknowledge her personal story, including her testimony of overcoming childhood abuse and her wide global influence in Christian teaching. However, it ultimately concludes that her teachings contain significant theological concerns, and it encourages Christians to carefully examine her messages in light of their understanding of Scripture. What seems to be the greatest source of backlash for Joyce Meyer? Are there other preachers in the same category as her? Let's take a deeper look at the debate surrounding Joyce Meyer and the prosperity gospel movement. When faith meets financial success. There has been an ongoing and sometimes heated discussion about Joyce Meyer and other well-known preachers linked with the prosperity gospel. This teaching suggests that strong faith, prayer, and generous giving to God's work will often lead to material blessings, such as money, success, and comfortable living. In some of these discussions, it is noted that Joyce Meyer herself has at some point admitted that certain parts of her earlier emphasis on prosperity and faith may have become out of balance. This reflection is important because it shows an awareness that ideas about wealth and faith can sometimes be pushed too far, even when they begin with sincere intentions. For many observers, this raises questions about how faith is taught and how easily spiritual messages can become mixed with material expectations. Supporters of Meyer and similar ministries often point to their visible success. It is reported that her ministry has brought in significant income over the years, allowing her and her husband to live comfortably. including owning multiple homes and even private aircraft. To her followers, this lifestyle is not seen as a problem. Instead, they view it as a sign that God is blessing her work and rewarding her faithfulness. However, critics strongly disagree with this interpretation. They argue that linking faith directly with wealth can be misleading. In their view, it may create the impression that being rich is a clear sign of God's approval, while being poor could wrongly be seen as a lack of faith or blessing. This, they say, can distort the core message of spiritual humility and dependence on God. Among those who raise concerns is Harvey Yoder, who represents many within the Mennonite tradition. He and others in this community reject the idea that true faith guarantees financial prosperity. At the same time, he warns that even sincere believers can slowly adopt prosperity-based thinking without realizing it. This may include assuming that wealth is proof of God's special favor, believing that personal riches belong only to the individual, or thinking that increasing wealth is always a natural outcome of a faithful life. Looking back at history, Harvey Yoder points out that periods of rising wealth have sometimes gone hand in hand with a weakening of spiritual discipline in Mennonite communities. He refers to examples from Dutch Anabaptists as well as Mennonite groups in Russia and Ukraine as warnings. In those cases, increasing comfort and affluence were followed by a gradual loss of simplicity and spiritual focus. His final warning is that when Christians ignore biblical teachings about simplicity, sacrifice, and careful stewardship, they may not notice the effects immediately. However, over time, history itself often reveals the consequences, sometimes in difficult and sobering ways. What does Joyce Meyer's family life look like? How has it affected her ministry? Let's talk about the family life and relationships that shaped Joyce Meyer's ministry. Decades of faithful family life. Behind the scenes of Joyce Meyer's global ministry, her private life has always been shaped by three steady anchors: faith in God, commitment to family, and the presence of those closest to her. At the center of this story is her husband, Dave Meyer, who has walked beside her for more than 50 years of marriage. As vice president of her ministry, he is often seen as the calm and quiet strength behind her public mission. While Joyce stands before large crowds teaching and preaching, Dave has often described himself as the one who supports, encourages, and helps steady the home front. Their marriage, he explains, has survived and grown because of prayer, forgiveness, and learning to accept each other's differences rather than fighting them. It is a partnership shaped by service, sacrifice, and shared spiritual conviction. The early years of their marriage brought challenges and misunderstandings. Over time, Dave and Joyce learned that forgiveness strengthens love. Their differences became sources of growth and balance, helping them develop patience, deeper understanding, and gentler communication through difficult moments. Together, they raised 4 children, each with their own unique personality, struggles, and path in life. Dave has spoken about how they learned not to use the same approach for every child, but instead to understand each one individually. Some of their children faced challenges in their younger years that caused concern, but with patience, love, and consistent guidance, they eventually matured into responsible adults. He often emphasizes that parenting requires endurance, wisdom, and unconditional love, not perfection. Over time, they learned that children who struggle early in life can still rise into strong and capable leaders. This approach helped create a home environment where growth was possible, even through mistakes and learning moments. As their family grew, so did their joy. Today, the Myers household includes many grandchildren and even great-grandchildren. Dave often reflects on how meaningful it is to pass down wisdom from one generation to the next. He speaks with gratitude about God's faithfulness, saying that their long marriage and growing family are not just the result of effort, but also divine grace. Looking back, he believes their journey shows that lasting relationships are built slowly through patience, humility, and shared faith. He often encourages younger couples to stay committed, even when feelings fluctuate or life becomes difficult. Their story continues to serve as a reminder that love, when nurtured with faith and perseverance, can endure across decades and generations. So, what do you think about Joyce Meyer's theology? Do you think her critics are right about their criticisms? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.